Jerome Powell speaking, Powell says the economic recovery can be robust after the virus is contained. And I think it will be. I don't think can is the right word, but of course I understand, they're not going to say will, they're going to, he could have said should be, but it will be. It will be robust, despite, this is him speaking, despite this sharp downturn. This is not an economic issue, and I keep saying that, and that's why I get concerned when I hear people making these assumptions. And, everything that we hear, including mine, are going to be based on a certain amount of assumption. It has to be. But some go very deep into detail about exactly what is going to happen. That is comical. You can't. It's impossible. There is no history. So from an analytical perspective, when we do analytics, when I'm making a projection that I want to be as real as possible, it is based on some substance. Now, maybe that substance is the last 6 times this has happened, there is a common thread of this happening. So yes, it is an assumption that the typical reaction is going to be typical this time as well. But we don't have any typical reactions for anything like this. We have no idea what it's like when you flip the switch, you shut the switch off of the economy. We have no idea what happens when you flip the switch back on. We don't have an idea of how long it's going to take to ramp up, how supply chains will and have been permanently impacted either for a negative or a plus. We don't know how employment has been impacted one way or another. We don't know how behavior of people is going to change so much that it's going to become ingrained, and habits will have changed. Routines will have changed. And all of those changes will impact something. They will all impact something. And we don't know what that's going to look like. So we can make certain assumptions, I guess, but it's really hard when we've never seen this before. So we don't know. But anyway, Jerome Powell, during this was a webinar that he did through the Brookings Institute, said that the Fed announced a new $2.3 trillion financing initiative directed at small and larger businesses, as well as households and state and local governments. Now, I really like the part of the state and local governments. And let me tell you, I am, even though I know there will be a point in time that I'll be critical of the Fed again. But one thing that I will say, we should be extremely grateful that we have a businessman, a man that has worked at making a payroll, a man that has worked in the financial world and in the business world, that went so far. I mean, think about this. Large businesses, small businesses, households, state governments, and other local governments, municipality governments. That about covers everything. He is trying desperately and is doing a great job not to leave any stones unturned. He wants to be available, not him, but the banking sector, the banking institutions, wants to make sure that there is an attitude and a way for the banking system to help everybody. Everybody. So if it's a small little police department in a small municipality, I live in a very small municipality. I think we have, well, actually, our police force covers 2 other small municipalities, and maybe we have 10 cars or something. That's a small police force. But if they were to say, I need some help, we need some help financially or otherwise, they can get it. And so I think this is really great. And the Fed really wants to do, well, here's a quote from Chairman Powell. At the Fed, we are doing all we can to help shepherd the economy through this difficult time. When the spread of the virus is under control, businesses will reopen, people will come back to work, and there is every reason to believe that the economy will rebound when it comes. And it can be robust. So the economy received obviously more bad news this morning with the 6.6 million first-time unemployment claims, but this is this should be taken as some very good news. He went on to say, when we enter this turbulent period, something I've been saying for a long time, we entered it on a very strong economic footing. And that should help support the recovery. In the meantime, we are using our tools to help build a bridge from a solid economic foundation on which we entered the crisis to a position of regained economic strength on the other side. I talked about in one of my little devotional pieces, we will get to the other side. Look, Jerome Powell is saying what I've been saying in what is happening in the Eurozone. The Eurozone started this crisis on very poor economic footing. They were teetering on the cliff. We were we were experiencing the greatest economy that I've ever seen in my lifetime. It was an amazing economy. We entered into this during this incredible strength. So one has to believe that we are well positioned to regain that strength in relatively quick order, because we started from there, and it literally was a switch taking us from that to shutting it all down. And one has to believe when we flip the switch back, it's not going to take long for the lights to get bright enough to get us right back to where we were. And that's some good news. So I am really encouraged by what the Federal Reserve is doing. And this morning when I started the program before the Federal Reserve spoke, I said, there's been some unexpected optimism in the markets and in the economy this week. And that's been great. And now we get this from the Federal Reserve, really showing that they stand ready to do what they have to do. Now, and I think that's wonderful. Now, having said all that, I really don't want the Federal Reserve to be ending up with $8 or $10 trillion on their balance sheet. I don't see that part as a good thing. And I'm not so sure that the Federal Reserve has thought about an exit strategy, or even if they need to. Maybe their exit strategy is the same exit strategy they had for the $4.2 trillion they had in 2008, which was to begin to let some of those debts expire. It might not be as easy this time because they're even buying some corporate debt. But anyway, you got to do what we've got to do, because they're not bailing out an economy this time. And let's make that clear. This is not a bailout. They're not bailing out this economy. They're not even trying to stimulate the economy. What they're trying to do is make ready the way to strength. They're trying to make ready for us to get back to where we were in as short a period of time as possible. This is aid to make sure that that happens. And aren't we the most fortunate country in the entire world to have a central bank system that is this prepared and ready and able to do what they're able to do? Hey, remember to click the subscribe button right here on the screen. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when new content is added. And more importantly than anything, you don't want to miss all 3 live hours of Financial Issues every day from 9 to noon. And you can watch it on FISM.tv. That's FISM.tv.